Hey there, everyone. Art Burns here. I really hope that you're having a great day today. And I hope that your whole week has been good, as we wrap up another work week, as we sort of, complete another round of this, week to weekend cycle. And that is if you work Monday through Friday. If you're not working Monday through Friday, well, I hope wherever you are in your week that you're doing okay. And I hope that you're kind of, taking some time to recognize a little bit of gratitude for the ability to do the things that you're able to do and to find those things in your life for which you can be grateful. Because no matter how difficult things seem, in life, there are always some things to be grateful for. And finding those things and recognizing those things and intentionally expressing your gratitude for those things is one of the most powerful ways to sort of balance the stress and the difficulty that we feel in our lives, and to get through it with a level of resilience and a level of groundedness and balance, and to be able to thrive through it, right? And so I want you to know that I am grateful for you. Right, I really am grateful for all of you. I know that there's people who listen to this podcast every day, and there's people who watch these YouTube videos every day, and I just want you to know how deeply I appreciate all of you, and how grateful I am that you take some time to listen to what I'm saying, and how grateful I am that I'm able to deliver something to you. And that's another really important aspect of what we can recognize in our lives that will help to also, achieve a level of balance between the good feelings and the sort of stress and pressure and everything else that we're feeling in our lives, to keep things grounded and balanced and thriving forward. And that is to allow some altruism into your heart. Right, and the way to do that is to recognize the impact that we have on each other, and you do. Right, I know sometimes it's really hard to see. Sometimes it's like, you kind of feel like, well, nobody listens to me, nobody notices me, nobody, I'm not having any effect on people's lives. But you are. I promise you, you are. Everybody is. From the, and sometimes it's in the most, sort of seemingly insignificant ways, right? Like the way you might, smile at a cashier in a supermarket, the way you might just offer some kind words to somebody, the way that you might, allow somebody to enter a bus before you get on, or just a thousand different ways in which you can have a positive impact on others. Now, we can do this intentionally with practice and purposeful actions, but even with what you're doing every day, I guarantee you there are people who are looking at you who are benefiting from you being in this world. Okay, I guarantee it. And if you don't believe me, then call me up, write me a message, let's get into a conversation, and I will prove it to you. All right, and that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about how much I believe in you. Right now, yeah, I don't know most of you personally. Some of you I do. Some of you we've communicated, and we have a rapport going. Many of the people who watch this, there's a certain level of anonymity between us. You know my name. I might know your name, but I might not, and certainly we may never have had a personal conversation in which we feel like we know each other. But I know that you are a human being. And I know that as a human being, you have dynamic potential. And I know that with the kind of practices that we talk about here, the way in which we can, focus on what is happening, and allow that all that negative chatter in our mind, which tells us that we're not good enough, which tells us that we're failing in things, which tells us that we need to do things better, which tells us that we're just not important to the world. All those thoughts, right? When we can alleviate those thoughts and just let them go through the very practices that I'm talking about here, that's when you can tap into that amazing dynamic potential that you have within you. All right? And I don't need to know you personally to know that you have this potential in you. Right? We all, every single human being on this planet has this potential in us, right? We are all here for a reason, and finding that reason as simple as just believing in our potential, right? And when we can believe in our own potential, and we can acknowledge and embrace this belief in our own potential and express it to ourselves, right? Through, whether you want to do it through deliberate chatter in your mind, telling yourself, several times a day, I am enough, I am special, I am important. Go ahead and do it, or just believe it quietly. Either way, when you can express that to yourself and really embrace it and really feel it, right? Which again, the way to feel that is to kind of allow yourself not to feel all the negativity and not to feel all the pressure from the stress and the anxiety and the anger emotions and all the emotions that are rooted in fear, but instead dwell in the emotions that are rooted in love. And when we can do that, we can really get in touch with that potential that we have within us. And once we do that, now we can see this potential in everyone else, right? And once we can see that potential in everyone else, that is the highest form of altruism that you can even imagine, right? Because when you're talking to someone, or when you're looking at someone, or when somebody is watching you and you believe in the potential and you recognize the inner nobility that every single person on this planet possesses within them, even people who do what we think are terrible things, each one of them has this nobility within them. It's just been covered up by years and years and years of fear and insecurity, maybe, or whatever emotions have arisen from that fear, and whatever life circumstances have caused those emotions of fear. That's covered up the nobility. We all have it within us, and the problem is that when we've covered it up and we stop even recognizing or remembering that we have it within us, and now we're acting from the place of that cover-up, right? We're acting from the place of that buffer that we put between who we really are and what the world sees, right? And so when you can see that nobility in every single person, and you can, believe me, I know it might sound almost impossible to do at this point, but you can. And when you can, you are going to elevate those around you. Okay, now, if you're talking about as a parent, or you're talking about as a colleague, you're talking about someone who regularly shops in a particular store or a coffee shop or whatever, you're talking about, a person within an extended family, whatever that role is that you play in your life, or however many of those roles you play in your life, right? Spouse, parent, daughter, son, brother, sister, co-worker, shopper, bus rider, driving commuter, gas station shopper, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, when you can see the nobility and the potential in every person around you, you are elevating those people around you. Okay, because when they feel you feeling their nobility, they feel their nobility too. Right? And this is not just my conjecture, okay? As you know, all the things that I talk about here are very much rooted in a nerdy level of science, okay? And yes, this is no different, right? There was a study that I recently heard about just the other day about a group of students, right, where they were, the people doing this research, right, they took randomized cross-section of different students, right, and what they did was they went to the students' teachers, right? The teachers didn't know what was going on. They approached the students' teachers, and they had just picked the people at random. There was no actual testing done, but what they did was they went to the students' teachers and said, you know what? We have taken these 10 students in this school, and we put them through this test, and based on the testing that we've done, we can see that that all 10 of these students that you teach are going to excel in their studies. You might not see it now, and they might not be excelling now, but they show the potential based on these psychological tests that we did. Every one of those students who they identified in this way, just completely placebo, there was no actual tests done. They didn't, they didn't take only kids that were good in school or only kids that were bad, but every single one of them raised their, elevated their level of study and grades and participation and success as students, right? What the researchers were hoping to see, and they did, was that by doing that, right, by telling the teacher that these kids had a certain potential, the teacher then, the way that the teacher talks to them, the way the teacher interacts, the way the teacher makes eye contact, the way the teacher, kind of has optimism and encouragement, right, changed everything. Right? Like it all changed. And in that change, these students felt they believed in themselves more. And they developed more of that optimism for themselves. And they developed more of that, that drive for themselves. And they excelled. And they succeeded. And the same thing will happen for your children, for your spouse, for your colleagues, for the people where you go shopping or you buy your coffee at Starbucks or wherever it is. The same thing is going to happen for all of those people around you that happened for those sweet young students, right? And that is the altruism that I'm talking about, right? And when you can walk through your life knowing that through your actions and your words and your gestures and your eye contact and your empathic resonance, you are elevating people in this way, believe me, my friends, that is going to elevate you and make you feel good and give you, and again, we're not talking about just a bunch of woo-woo, hippy-dippy stuff here. We're talking about neuroscience, right? The circuitry in your brain is going to respond to your altruism that you're showing for people and that you're recognizing. It's going to respond in a very positive way, and it's going to increase your happiness, and it's going to increase your ability to function in this world and to excel in this world in whatever you are trying to excel in. Okay, it's going to happen. And this is the most beautiful thing, and this is why I have so much belief in your potential, right? Because all you need to do, and again, what this comes down to is just the ability to be present, the ability to accept the things that are likely to cause that negative chatter that we have, just simply accepting things, right? That like for right now, yeah, things are difficult, but it doesn't mean that I am bad, right? Things are bad. I am feeling difficulty in my life, but it doesn't mean that I'm failing. I might be experiencing a failure in my life, but it doesn't mean that I am a failure, right? And as we develop our self-awareness, that's when we start to have this proper self-assessment, right? Which comes from a sort of detachment, right? A little room, a little non-identification, right, between our emotions and what we're and our identity, right? So again, I am experiencing failure. Sounds different from I am a failure, right? That's what we're talking about. And the way to get there is through the practices that I talk about, right? Developing the self-awareness through just being with ourselves, right? Sitting for 5 or 10 minutes a day and just doing a very simple form of meditation, just allowing ourselves to focus our mind on ourselves. So, not on ourselves in the sense of like our ego self, but on our body, on the breathing that our body is doing. Just one in breath and one out breath, right? Focusing on that. And as we do that, we develop this self-awareness. We start to understand how our body is working. We start to understand how the thoughts and the emotions and the sensations of the body are all entwined together. I talk about this here a lot, right? And as we learn about this, now we can start to do two really important things, right? We can regulate ourselves and our emotions so that we're no longer reacting to things and causing more difficulty through those reactions, right? So we quiet everything down. We allow ourselves to really be here right now with what we're doing. And this allows us to get a little bit of that acceptance, and then allows us to tap into that compassion and that altruism that is there for us, right? That exists within our hearts, right? But then the other really important thing that comes from this is a higher level of, or a more accurate level of self-assessment, right? What this means is, as we see what we're really doing as we're doing it, right, without judgment, without that mental chatter in our minds, and we see that, like, that we're again, we're experiencing failure. Yes, I'm experiencing failure right now, but I am not a failure, right? So in other words, what we start to see is we start to see those things that we are really good at, and then we start to see those things that we're not really good at. And we see them both in reality and without judgment, and for what they really are. Because most of the time, as I talk about a lot here, the negativity bias in our minds and that mental chatter that we have in our minds is going to make us see the negative aspect of ourselves, the negative aspects of our performance, the negative aspects of our thoughts and our emotions, right? And as we're paying more attention to those negative aspects, we don't see the positive aspects, right? So therefore, we don't have an accurate self-assessment. We don't see those things that we're really good at. We only see the things that we're bad at. So therefore, we're not accurately assessing our own performance, right? And when we can accurately assess our self-performance, right? When we can do that accurately, then we come to something that is really, really, really valuable in our lives, which is self-confidence, right? If I know what I'm really good at, and I also know what I'm really bad at, which we are. I mean, we're all, we can't all be good at everything, right? We are all good at certain things, and we're all bad at other things. And when we can accept that, and we can truly, again, accurately assess those things, then what can we do? We can pay more attention. We can give more energy into those things at which we are really good, and not worry about the stuff that we're really not good at, because we don't have to do those things, right? And even if that's within the, as a parent, right? Like, like, I'm really good at certain areas of my parenting, and I'm really not good at other areas of my parenting, right? And when I can accept that, and I can see that accurately, well, then, yeah, I mean, I can put some effort into improving those necessary things that I have to do to if there's things that are kind of detracting from my children's health or well-being, I can focus on those enough to improve, right? But really, I can also focus more on the things that I'm really good at, right? And use those things to build on. And in that, the confidence becomes something that is self-motivating and self-propelling. And once you get to that point, then you feel like there's nothing that can stop you. All right, so I'm going to start talking a lot more about confidence in general, and so I'll do another video on Monday, probably dealing with that also. But I just wanted to, again, today I wanted to talk about how important it is for you to see the potential that you have, right? And again, the way to get to that is through the confidence, right? The more confident we are about ourselves, the more able we are to see that we have this potential in ourselves. And the more we're able to see this potential, again, the more we are going to see that potential in others. And then the more we see it in others, the more we elevate those others. Right? And this is very, very beneficial and very important in our lives, right? Especially as parents, especially as people who are team leaders at work, especially for people who are just, just citizens of the world, right? Just because if we can all elevate each other, just think about how much, all the beautiful things that could happen in this world. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate you. Again, I really, really am grateful for you listening to me here every day. And if you have any questions or if you'd like to give me a comment about what I've talked about today, I would love it. I would absolutely love to hear from you and to know what you think about this and to know how this lands for you. I really, really would like to know that. So if you have a minute or two, just jot a little comment down. If you don't want to get into a conversation, that's okay too. But maybe a conversation about this might open something up for you that could lead to a breakthrough in your life. And if you would like some support in that, then I am here for that as well. All right, everybody, thanks again for listening. I wish you well. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll be back again on Monday to talk more about this self-confidence. We're going to go deeper into that on Monday. We're going to really get into what that's all about, and I'm going to give you tools in which to help you to achieve that self-confidence. All right, everybody, thanks again. Take care.